What's up, guys? It's AFC Nfc back again. We are at the end of preseason week 2, I believe. We're going into week 3, last week of the preseason, before we get into the actual regular season. And of course, I am here with my awesome co-host, Jeremy. How you doing tonight, my man?
I'm doing spectacular. Every week that I talk to you is not only another week I get to talk to you, but it's 1 week closer to football. So it's a win-win.
That is a great way to look at it, the football side. And so nice of you to say that about me. I appreciate that. But enough of the pleasantries. Let's get down to business. Today, we have a pretty filled show here. First off, we're going to start out with the news. We're going to go with some miscellaneous news, I guess, to start out, and then some injuries, of course, because we are in football season, and a few games as well that kind of highlight there. Then we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of what we're doing today. AFC and NFC West to clean up the last 2 divisions of our off-season dive in to the fantasy-only relevant players. So we'll talk about those in just a few minutes here. And then to break that up between the AFC and NFC West, we're going to squeeze in the middle a local important wide receiver, DK Metcalf for the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're going to talk about today as well. So we're going to get right started into it with the news here. The number one thing that I saw, at least yesterday, is that even though Shedeur had a pretty good game on this past weekend, Deshaun Watson's named Brown starter. Not that this really matters in fantasy, but he is a starter. There's only 32 of them. So we had to at least bring it up. So I know I have a share of Deshaun Watson. As soon as I heard it, I tried to trade him. No one bit. Everyone actually made fun of me for it. So and Mitchell from the Jets sounds like he's going to be the Robin that the Jets have been looking for, is what they're saying, even though they drafted Omar Cooper Jr. in the first round. That's kind of weird, but is what it is. For Garrett Wilson being the Batman, I guess. And then Patriots trade Kayshon Boutte to the Texans. So their wide receiver room gets even more large, I guess.
Clustered with mid-tier guys. I'll be surprised if all these guys make the final roster. Like, I know they signed Sterling Shepard and they signed somebody else, and now we traded for Boutte. Like, their roster is beat up, but it's not necessarily all season ending. I'm not too optimistic. All those wide receivers, I think they have like 7 or 8 wide receivers on the depth chart at this point. Like, you can't go into a season with 8.
Well, no, absolutely. And Green Bay did this last year too. But
yes,
when Jaden Higgins went down, they make this trade. It sounds like they're not sure anyone's good enough to take Jaden's spot. That's what I got out of this.
Yeah, from the vibes I'm getting, Noel, who was drafted with him, both the Iowa State guys, he's going to be a little bit, they're trying to toy him out a little bit more in the slot. And as optimistic as it was like a month ago, from what I'm hearing just recently, Tank Dell is nowhere near ready to play. From whatever they showed, the video dropped of him last month, cutting and running routes and stuff, and everyone was kind of optimistic, myself included. I have a stock. But from what I'm reading the past few days here, these signings and this trade was done in part because Tank Dell's not ready.
Wow. I did not know that. So obviously you have Nico Collins as the focal point there, and then everybody else around him, but you do need some players around him to not make it just Nico. So I can understand the trade if that's the case for Tank Dell. Anything else you want to talk about Deshaun Watson? Like I said, not really a big deal, but we do have to say it because there's only 32 starters. And then Adonai Mitchell.
I'm a big fan of Mitchell. I like him this year. I don't think he's going to get as much opportunity as possible, but I am trying to get at least one stock of him. I think he's a nice young talent on a team that doesn't have necessarily a wide receiver 2 in lock. So what I've seen from preseason so far, I know we watched the Steeler game. He looked good. He had a couple catches, what little bit he had. But Deshaun Watson, it's worth mentioning again. Most importantly, because of the fantasy stocks, not necessarily of Deshaun Watson, but of KC Conception and Denzel Boston that individuals have. I'm not surprised that Watson got the call. I am optimistic of Shedeur a little bit getting an opportunity this year. But again, that Cleveland quarterback room is atrocious regardless who's in there.
Yeah, you're grabbing those wide receiver stocks for next year.
Yeah.
In the following years, because they're both young in Boston and Conception. I think this is the last year. Someone told me, who was a Browns fan, he believes it's his last year on the Watson deal. So thank God that'll be over with, from what it sounds like. And Shador, fifth round, sixth round pick. Not really locked into anything there, so don't really have to worry too much. So I think whoever they draft in the first round next year, I assume, is going to be the starter, basically out of the jump. But Deshaun Watson gets a start probably because it's easier to get him to sit or to bench him and bring in the young guy than it is to bench the young guy to bring in the veteran, right? For this team, especially. So some injuries. Obviously, we kind of already talked about it because of the trade. But Jaden Higgins for the Texans, ACL, he's out for the season. A lot of people were expecting a lot from him, so that's a shame. Alvin Kamara from the Saints, MCL, out at least a month. So he's going to miss at least the first 1 or 2 games. I can't. For those of you, I laugh because for those of you obviously can't see, we're just audio only. Jeremy pumps his fist in the air because of how many shares he has at Travis Achan.
That's right. You know exactly why. I don't mean to be positive to injuries. Thank God it's not a year-long thing because, again, I don't want to wish harmful of injuries of any player. But when you're looking at it, and I got 4 stocks. I think 4 out of 5 leagues I'm in have Travis Achan. So I'm a little bit relieved of this information.
Absolutely. And Tyler Warren for the Colts, groin injury, should be good to go for week 1, but he's probably done for preseason. Sam Laporta out for the Lions, unsure to play week 1. I thought he was healthy, and then I guess something came up in the offseason. Didn't really hear what it was. Michael Penix for the Falcons is cleared to practice. So that's a positive sign. He probably won't start week 1. It sounds like Tua is going to get the nod, but no one said that yet because Tua is dealing with something as well. But I don't know exactly what that is. I just heard he didn't play this past weekend. And then Ashton Genty for the Raiders had an ankle sprain that sounded like it was a lot worse. And Mike Washington's shares were like puckering up a little bit. And then they found out that it was just an ankle sprain, and he should be good to go for week 1, which is great for the NFL, first of all. Let's not get that twisted, but also for anyone who drafted him number 1 overall last year, like most people probably did.
No, I fully agree. There's going to be a lot more eyes on the Vegas Raiders this year with all the Max Crosby stuff that was going on in the offseason and Fernando Mendoza and the Tom Brady affiliation. Like, there's going to be some eyeballs on Vegas this year. So it would be good, like you mentioned, for the sake of the football, to have Genty be playing and everything like that. Just to follow up here, Laporta actually returned to practice today. It was an aggravated hip injury sustained from an August scrimmage, but he did return today back to practice, so it looks like he's going to be okay.
Okay, awesome. I did not hear that, so thank you for that. So it looks like he'll be good to play for week 1, so we don't have to worry about it.
Yes.
Which he's one of those 7-8 tight ends that you want. Outside of them, it doesn't matter. So anytime we lessen that group, it gets worrisome. So that's good to hear. Anything else you wanted to highlight on the injury front?
No, I think we touched base on the majority of it, at least the key ones. I'm ready to talk some AFC West.
Well, first off, we're going to just highlight some games real quick. So we were talking about Ashton Genty, so we'll talk about the Raiders real quick. Raiders-Texans. Raiders win 22-20, not that matters, but pretty surprising. Fernando Mendoza, 8 of 15, 86 yards and an interception, so not so great for the number 1 pick overall. We're going to highlight him probably every week in the preseason just because number 1 overall pick, we want to see what he's doing. Packers-Broncos, 33-13. Green Bay wins. Bo Nix, 6 of 9, 76 yards and a touchdown. Looks decent, ready to go. So your worries about a month ago are for naught. So that's always good for your share there. And Jalen Waddle, 1 for 135 yards. That's a good sign for Waddle as well. Saints-Rams, 34-0 Rams. CJ Daniels, 8 of 13 for 68 yards. Now, 68 yards isn't much, but 13 targets. I don't care if it's preseason or not. There's like 50 options on the field to throw to. He got 13. The closest, I think, was 6. So I thought that was pretty relevant for who might be the number 3 wide receiver or taking over for Devontae Adams next year or in 2 years, whatever that is. So I wanted to highlight him. Cowboys Cardinals, Joe Milton, 9 of 13, 179 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was like the lone guy who looked like he was the top guy on like the top preseason player, I guess, of the weekend, if that makes sense. So wanted to highlight him as well. Joe Milton, always our favorite backup to watch because he can throw the ball 300 yards. Obviously, probably like 80, but you get my drift. Jaden Blue, 15 to 75, 15 carries for 75 yards. So again, the same thing I said with CJ Daniels. Jaden Blue getting a lot of run. Pardon the pun. As the what sounds like he's going to be the backup for Javonte Williams. So, anything you wanted to highlight other than those?
No, I think you guys based on it rather well. We were in the thick of preseason football. In my opinion, we don't get as many starters in week 2. I think we're going to get a little bit in week 3, not necessarily like the full halves or anything like you're seeing, but I personally would like to see my team's starters at least one drive the week before the regular season starts, because they're already going to have a week off on September 6th. And so you're going to have your starters go 3 weeks without touching a football. I personally would like to see the starters play at least a little bit in preseason week 3, but that's why I run a podcast. I'm not an NFL head coach, so we'll see exactly what happens.
Yeah, when we come back, we're going to get started with the AFC West, and this is one of the best divisions in football, so it'll be fun to talk about. So we'll be right back. All right, guys, welcome back. AFC West football. This is where a lot of the contenders are, to be honest with you, 3 out of 4. So first off, we're going to start out with the division winners last year, the Denver Broncos. They re-signed J.K. Dobbins on a 2-year, $16 million deal, and also Jaleel McLaughlin as well. Added Jalen Waddle. If you didn't know, you're living under a rock. Traded from the Dolphins for their number 1 wide receiver now. Actually, the team surprisingly had no departures, but they did bring in, obviously, some players from the draft as well. So running back Jonah Coleman out of Washington, round 4, 108 overall, and tight end Justin Jolie out of North Carolina State, round 5, 152 overall. We'll just jump right into it. Since I talked about the draft, I'll just say real quick, my dark horse 100% is going to be Jonah Coleman. I think he's going to end up being the best running back on this team that's healthy because, well, J.K. Dobbins doesn't stay healthy. So I see a lot of potential for him, especially the second half of the year.
I like that grab. Jonah Coleman, I think he's getting a lot of hype in preseason. And that running back room is up for grabs. But I think I'm going to go with the old news, and I'm going to go with R.J. Harvey as my dark horse, which makes this a little interesting between the two of our picks. But no, I'm going with R.J. Harvey. I still think for lack of better terms, there's gas in the tank. The dude's young. I mean, he was in order of the draft pick, but the dude's young. He's only a 1-year vet, so like there's plenty of space for him to go. I think he holds that has potential to hold that Alvin Kamara role in that Sean Payton system. He's designed for passing touchdowns. He exploded at the beginning of the year with passing touchdowns. He had 47 receptions for 356 yards and 5 receiving touchdowns last year as a rookie. So, and that was with that revolving door backfield. So I'm going to go with R.J. Harvey as my dark horse. I'm not willing to ship off those shares just yet. I'm willing to see what he does.
No, yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a 1-2 punch with by the end of the year because, again, J.K. Dobbins is going to play really well to start the season, and then he has not had a successful full season in his career. So more than likely he's going to get injured. So I believe that they're going to be a nice 1-2 punch, literally Jonah Coleman punching and then R.J. Harvey catching the ball out of the backfield. You want to go ahead with your MVP or –
Yeah, we kind of touched base on him a little bit here, but I'm going to go with Jalen Waddle. I think this is an absolute perfect fit for him. This is going to be an opportunity for him to be wide receiver 1 without a Tyreek Hill or anyone else, and he's going to be able to just explode. I was reading some stuff today that they plan on putting him literally all over the field with the exception of offensive line. And that's a quote. Like, they plan on using him in every position except offensive line. So maybe Denver got their Deebo Samuel. Who knows? But I'm excited to see what he does this year with the established quarterback in Bo Nix and a pass-heavy offense in the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, and because you said pass-heavy, my MVP is Bo Nix. I actually I'm actually toying with him possibly being he's going to be a top 5 candidate, I think, this year for MVP in the NFL. I believe he's really going to take a big step with Jalen Waddle and now Cortland Sutton as a number 2. That's a really good 1-2 punch for him. And then you have RJ Harvey coming out of the backfield as well. That helps a lot. 2 tight ends that can catch the ball, because I like Justin Jolly as well. They're building a pretty good thing over there. And obviously their defense is the one worry that I said about CJ Stroud last week as well. Do they really have to throw the ball that much? But they choose to with Sean Payton. So I think Bo Nix is going to have a heck of a year, and that team's going to be really good.
I like it. I got a Bo Nix share myself. Jalen Waddle doesn't explode without Bo Nix. So let's go Bo.
Yeah, I think that whole offense is going to explode this year pretty well. They got weapons everywhere. Next up, we got the Kansas City Chiefs, who used to have a stranglehold on this division. Not so much anymore. But we do have some re-signs in Travis Kelce coming back for another year. We thought he was retiring, 3 years ago, I think people were saying, but he's still there, still playing well. Wide receiver Tyquan Thornton as well is re-signed. They add Amari DiMercado for some running back depth. Formerly from the Cardinals, Kenneth Walker to start as the running back. Formerly from the Seahawks, 3-year, $43.05 million. And quarterback Justin Fields, formerly from the Jets. I think this was a just in case Patrick Mahomes wasn't ready, because it was pretty early in the offseason that they ended up grabbing him. But it sounds like he's going to be the backup. Departures, running back Isaiah Pacheco went to the Lions to be the Knuckles, I guess, to Jahmyr Gibbs's main Sonic. And then quarterback Gardner Minshew went down to Arizona to be the second or third quarterback there. They drafted running back Emmett Johnson out of Nebraska in round 5, 161 overall. Wide receiver Cyrus Allen, out of Cincinnati, round 5 as well, 176. And quarterback Garrett Nussmeier, LSU, round 7, 249 overall. So what are your thoughts about this team here, the Chiefs?
A lot of question marks, which is an odd position to be in for the Chiefs, because, I mean, there's such a dynasty, at least from the past 5-7 years. They've been so good. So it's weird to have them approaching the season with some question marks. We got question marks on the longevity of Travis Kelce. We got the question marks on the longevity of Patrick Mahomes' knee, and a few other pieces there. It's a different Chiefs team. I'm not rolling them out by any means. I still think they're going to be, playoff contenders, but it's definitely some question marks in regards to health and longevity amongst the team. But you kind of mentioned them a little bit. I'm going to start off with my dark horse. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid in the fantasy world. I'm going with Cyrus Allen as my dark horse. He's a 5th-round draft pick, and he's already getting immediate first-team repetitions and built a chemistry with Patrick Mahomes. So it's kind of hard for a day 3 wide receiver to operate with the first team out of the gate, but he is, and he's doing well with it. He's getting praised by Andy Reid. He has a lot of support by Andy Reid and his coaching staff there. And let's be frank, the Kansas City Chiefs wide receiving room is wide open. You have Xavier Worthy and you have Rashee Rice, but Rashee Rice is another one of those question marks in regards to what kind of things he's going to be. I mean, dude had one hell of an offseason with going to jail and everything between, and he's also hurt. So the doors potentially there for Cyrus Allen to take over wide receiver responsibilities. I'm not necessarily going to say wide receiver 1, but if there's going to be a dark horse out of this Chiefs team that's going to score for some offensive points that nobody's expecting, I'm going to go with Cyrus Allen.
Look, I like your hopium, and what it sounds like everyone else has with Cyrus Allen. I've heard this so many times from the Chiefs. It worries me. That's the only reason he wasn't my dark horse as well. My dark horse is the other round 5 pick. However, Emmett Johnson. I think that if they believe Kenneth Walker can be an every down back and play him as an every down back, he will not stay healthy. He has proven that. So if you use somebody as a Zach Charbonnet type in Emmett Johnson, then Kenneth Walker stays healthy like he did last year. I think that's the formula. I don't think they drafted this particular running back just because he was there, because there was a bunch of running backs out there still. So I think because of his bigger stature, they drafted him. He's going to be playing a little bit more than people expect, I believe. So he's my dark horse for this team.
I like that grab. I have a share of him. I'll obviously selfishly try to see what kind of shares I have for these players. So I mean, I'll support that one big time. But I do think that there is one individual standing in his way, and he's going to be my actual MVP of the Kansas City Chiefs, and Kenneth Walker. I understand that he does have a injury history, but I'm going with the pros over the con. He's a Super Bowl pedigree. Let me see stats for the Super Bowl. He ran 135 yards on 27 carries against the Patriots, so he had a decent day at the Super Bowl. He rushed for a little over 1,000 yards in 2025 and had 31 receptions. He forced a high number of missed tackles, and let's get real here. There's a financial commitment to him. They signed to a 3-year deal, I think like 45 million or something like that. So the Chiefs feel that they needed some help in the run game, and they got it. And I think Kenneth Walker is going to explode this year in Kansas City.
And I 100% agree with you. I think he will explode. The only way he does explode, though, is if he's not the only back. It worries me that he's going to get hurt. But if he stays healthy, I agree with you. I think he can mimic those numbers that he had last year, maybe even more, especially with a quarterback in Patrick Mahomes. I'm actually picking MVP. I never thought I would pick, but I look at this team and, man, I don't really have one. So I went with Rashee Rice. If he stays healthy and out of trouble, he's probably the most important fantasy player on this team. If he stays healthy and out of trouble, that is the key. And I'm hoping, since it's preseason, I could say he will. But we'll see what happens there. I have no shares of him. I've talked about it before. I want nothing to do with him. But outside of Kenneth Walker, really, I don't think Mahomes is a top 8 quarterback in fantasy. He's one of the top 2-3 in the actual NFL, so don't get that twisted. But in fantasy, he doesn't really move the needle for me, if that makes sense. Anytime he actually tries, he runs a lot, he gets hurt, kind of like last year. So hopefully he'll be able to stay in the pocket, throw the ball to Rashee Rice, and stay healthy, and hand the ball off to Kenneth Walker and Emmett Johnson, and just facilitate like he is probably the best at doing in facilitation. So next up, we have the Raiders. So we go from two of the favorites, I guess, in the division to what I think everyone believes is going to be the cellar dweller this year, the Las Vegas Raiders. They had no re-signs. They did add head coach Clint Kubiak, which I wanted to just mention because that's a big deal. Their offense was bad last year. So hopefully he's able to bring in a little bit more from that Seahawks offense that they had last year, obviously Super Bowl winning offense. Quarterback Kirk Cousins also comes in to be the beginning of the year starter. I doubt that's going to last long, but he was a former Falcon coming in. They do lose running back Alexander Mattison to the Dolphins in that ridiculous amount of running back backfield that they have in Miami. Tight end Harrison Bryant went to the Eagles, and running back Zamir White went to the 49ers. All in all, to say, they didn't lose much. They did draft, like I said before, the number 1 overall pick, round 1, number 1, quarterback Fernando Mendoza out of Indiana, running back Mike Washington Jr. out of Arkansas in the 4th round, 122 overall, and then wide receiver Malik Benson out of Oregon, round 6, 195 overall. Kind of surprising that this team, before we move on to like our thoughts, I was surprised that this team didn't go out and get a wide receiver earlier than the 6th round, especially with their best wide receiver being a wide receiver 3 last year in Jalen Naylor. But maybe they have a lot of hope for their young guys from the last 2 years.
They paid Naylor a good bit of money to come over, so maybe they do have high hopes for Naylor. And again, the Raiders are one of those unique teams where their wide receiver 1 isn't a wide receiver. So, like, you got a lot of pass coverage. You got a lot of pass help with Brock Bowers. So I think that comes into play, but I fully agree with you. This was a very wide receiver heavy class, but I guess they liked what they saw in the previous ones and previous picks that they had, and decided not to trade up.
Or they see what's coming out next year. That's kind of what I think. They got their tight end 2 years ago, Ashton Genty last year, quarterback this year. I got a feeling what's coming next year, especially if they're as bad as people are expecting them to be. But with that, I'm just gonna give you my dark horse real quick because he is a wide receiver, and he was my dark horse last year, I believe, because I can't quit him. Jack Bash. I believe he's going to be the pseudo number one. I know Naylor's paid, and he's probably going to be the number one to start. But I believe that talent-wise, Jack Bash probably has the talent to be the number one and work really well with the Jalen Naylor. So we'll see what happens there. But without having really another dark horse option, I guess, Jack Bash is my guy.
I like the Jack Bash call. I mean, you got to remember we're going to a new Clint Kubiak offense here, and he is instrumental in the development of JSN in Seattle. Now, listeners, I am not calling Jack Bash.
I heard it.
JSN.
I'm putting it on the stone. We got it. It's good. I love it. Jack Bash JSN this year. Got it.
I am saying that Jack Bash has a possibility.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
That's fine. Yeah, I'm saying he does have a possibility to fill some type of role in that aspect and develop. So I like that call. But I went with the more, I don't want to say obvious dark horse, but the guy who's not going to start right away, in my opinion. I think Kirk Cousins shows up, and he's a buffer for Fernando Mendoza. I'm going to go with him as my dark horse. He's sneaky league win potential and a low ceiling profile. Like he's being drafted in our Superflex leagues. He's going in all the rookie drafts, but he's not the number one pick overall. And he is sliding to sometimes the 5th or 6th pick, depending on who needs what and everything like that. So he's a decent spot. A lot of comps to Jared Goff, in my opinion. So, I mean, he is kind of like that boring pocket passer where he's not going to be running all over the field like a Jaden Daniels. But, I mean, he did get 400-some yards rushing and 7 rushing touchdowns in his college career. So he has that high IQ mobility where he's not necessarily going to run it a lot, but he'll pull the trigger and run away if he has to. So all those aspects in the play, I'm going to go with Mendoza as my dark horse.
No, I like that call. I'm surprised that people are saying he's closer to Jared Goff. I think he has some mobility, a lot more mobility than Jared Goff did. So I'm surprised by that. I think he's a perfect quarterback too for a team, like a fantasy team. Perfect in that super flex spot. If you're able to get him there. As your number one, a little bit worries. Even in the future, but especially with what they have right now. But definitely a good quarterback too, especially with his mobility and being young. You have a little bit extra mobility that way as well. But I think we both agree on this one. Who the MVP is, because there's really only one option. When you're the one of one in your position, you are the most relevant player or the MVP for fantasy, and it's Brock Bowers. And I have talked so much about how great this guy is that I'm going to let you talk about him first.
No, I thank you for that. No, Brock Bowers is, I think you nailed it perfectly. I think your description was spot on. When he's one of one in a position, I mean, it's a no-brainer. This is the Tom Brady of tight ends. You know, he's going to be, when you think of tight ends, you're going to think of Brock Bowers for the next 5, 7, 10 years. It's just the profile of player that he is, the skill set of player he is, and the team is built around him respectfully.
Absolutely. Even in a hurt year last year, he was still a top 10 tight end. And I think it might have even been top 5. So that was ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, obviously people don't want to forget about Ashton Genty, but when you're one of one in your position, and Gentie's probably top 10, we would think, but not in that 1, 2, 3 area, in my opinion. Obviously, Brock Bowers is going to be that guy. Moving on, we have the Los Angeles Chargers. Re-sign Kimani Vidal to a 1-year contract. They add David Njoku, formerly from the Browns, tight end. Running back Keaton Mitchell, formerly from the Ravens, 2-year, $9.25 million. Tight end Charlie Kohler from the Ravens. Sounds like the Harbaughs are just trading players, especially when John left. He was like, well, these two guys are good. You should take them. And Charlie Kohler's 3-year, $24.3 million. Obviously, with two tight ends coming in, Will Dissly, the tight end, is released. And wide receiver Keenan Allen took a little bit of time, but he is now a Colt. So he is not a Charger anymore as well. In his second stint there. And then they drafted one wide receiver, Brennan Thompson, Mississippi State, round 4, 105 overall. They all obviously brought in a new offensive coordinator in Mike McDaniels, and no surprise, Keaton Mitchell and Brennan Thompson are now on this team because they were two of the fastest players, one coming into the NFL, one in the NFL already that we've seen, and he loves fast.
Yeah, so much so. I like that segue that I'm going to jump right into it. So much so that Keaton Mitchell is going to be my dark horse for this season. I like him a lot. I like him in the Mike McDaniel scheme. He's guaranteed a multi-back role. Mike McDaniel stated that Mitchell is going to have a regular active game role alongside Hampton. So that's something good. And touch base on what you speak. I'm a statistical guy, so yes, his next-gen stats last year came in at a whopping, he led the NFL with a whopping 14.49 mile per hour run speed, and he boasted a 4.37 40. And last year he had a highly efficient 6.3 yards per carry. So I'm a big fan of him this season. I think he's going to excel immensely in the Los Angeles Chargers scheme with Mike McDaniel leading the way.
Yeah, I think he's a perfect change of pace back for Omar and Hampton as well. So I like that. My dark horse is Trey Harris. I think they don't really like Quentin Johnston, but they didn't have anyone who was ready. I think Trey Harris this year might be ready and is going to take over that wide receiver too. I don't know why I feel like they don't like him, but it just seems that way, that they're always trying to find someone above him. So Ladd McConkey obviously being the number 1, I think Trey Harris could be the number 2 this year.
I like that a lot. You didn't hear too much of him last year because QJ kind of, I don't want to say broke out, but QJ had a really hot beginning of the year, and they really couldn't give him so much snap time because of the way the wide receivers were producing. But I agree with you. I think Trey Harris gets a lot more action this year and blossoms.
Absolutely. And I'm going to lead right into my MVP. My MVP of the league this year, Justin Herbert. Mike McDaniels is his offensive coordinator. If his offensive line stays healthy, he'll have time to sip tea in the backfield. And he has an array of weapons that is pretty much unheard of. The young speed that they have on the outsides. They have Ladd McConkey in the middle. They have Njoku. They have Kohler, who apparently can catch the ball. I don't know if the Ravens knew that. And obviously, Oronde Gadsden. They have Keaton Mitchell, Vidal, but obviously Omari and Hampton in the backfield. There are weapons everywhere, and this dude can move out of the pocket. He can run himself, and he's very accurate. So I think he has an absolutely incredible year. I have a feeling he's the MVP of the league, and they actually won the division.
That's a bold statement, and one I'm not going to necessarily disagree on. Justin Herbert, for all the reasons that you mentioned and then some, has the potential to be the league MVP. So I like that call. I'm actually going to go on the other side of the ball here, and I'm going to go with Omari and Hampton. I know I went with Keaton Mitchell as my dark horse, but that's what makes him a dark horse, is because he has the lead ahead of him in Omari and Hampton. Omari and Hampton is, in my opinion, this generation's Derrick Henry. I think he coming in at 6'1", 230 pounds, him coming with a downhill run speed. I really don't see defenders having an easy time bringing him down. He had record-breaking broken tackles last season. He had over 700 total yards rushing and 5 touchdowns and very limited touches. I think, again, with the Mike McDaniel aspect of getting thrown into here and having Justin Herbert being the calculus gunslinger that he is, you're going to have to plan a little bit around the Justin Herbert offense. So you're going to you can't stack the box against this running back duo. You're going to want to try, but you're not going to be successful because, like as Mickey mentioned, Herbert's going to go balls out this year. So I like the running game under Mike McDaniel. No knock on Justin Herbert, but I do like the run game to be excelling in both Keaton Mitchell and Amari Hampton, so much so that they're both going to be my spotlight.
No, I like that. I think it's going to be a nice 1-2 punch for them in the backfield. Like we said, again, if the left tackle and right tackle were healthy last year, this team is even better than they were last year. Let's not forget that. They were running for their lives back there. And Amari Hampton still had a good year. So absolutely agree with that. Now we're going to go to the AFC West. So I say that Justin Herbert's my MVP. So obviously I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off real quick. Obviously he's my MVP for the West as well. He kind of has to be, I guess, right? But my quarterback in this case, since Justin Herbert's my MVP, is going to be Bo Nix. I think like I said, he's going to be a top 5 for the MVP. So I think these two guys are going to have insane years. Running back, Ashton Genty. Wide receiver, Lab McConkey, because of the MVP for Justin Herbert. Tight end, there's no one else. Brock Bowers. Flex, Kenneth Walker. And my dark horse is going to be Jonah Coleman.
I can't disagree with any of that lineup. I like it a lot. My MVP is actually going to be Brock Bowers. I think he stands tall once again in the whole division. I believe he is the offensive weapon that everybody dreams of. So I believe Brock Bowers, once again, with a comparable quarterback, breaks any of the numbers that he's had in previous years. So he's going to be my MVP for the AFC West. My dark horse for the AFC West, I'm going to, like I said, I'm drinking that Kool-Aid by the gallon, man. I'm going with Cyrus Allen. I know we've heard it before, but this is definitely the most shaky wide receiver room the Chiefs have brought up to the beginning of week 1. There's plenty of opportunity for him to take advantage of it, and he already is a camp. So Cyrus Allen's my dark horse for the AFC West. For the reasons of our fearless leader, Mickey explained in various detail, I'm going to go with Justin Herbert as my quarterback for the AFC West team. And for reasons that I explained in various detail, I'm going to go with Amari Hampton as my running back. So double charges here so far. Wide receiver, I'm going to go with Jalen Waddle. Tight end, because I have Bowers, I went with old reliable Travis Kelce as my tight end. Until the wheels fall off, I'm going to continue to ride that wagon. And I, too, as my flex position, went with Kenneth Walker. Again, for reasons I stated previously, I think he has a monster year with the Chiefs. So, yeah, I think the AFC West was, I think it's definitely one of the more questionable divisions, not necessarily in regards to talent, but in regards to how this year is going to approach. We have the Broncos, the Chargers, and the Chiefs all going to be gunning for that number 1 spot. And again, we have this dark horse Raiders team that is young, that is unproven, and they could possibly upset a lot of fan bases by running the table.
No, absolutely. When we come back, we're going to talk about someone from the AFC North, DK Metcalf. So we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. We got our player profile with DK Metcalf before we get into the NFC side of things, kind of like our halftime, I guess you want to call it. But for DK Metcalf, obviously Steelers wide receiver, measurable 6'4", 229, chiseled. That's not a measurable, but he is. 28 years old, 2019 second-round pick, 64 overall for the Seattle Seahawks. Came out of Ole Miss. Career 7 years, 6 with the Seahawks, Seattle Seahawks, over 100 targets, 60 catches, and 900 yards every single year. 141 targets, 90 catches in 2022, and 1,300 yards in 2020. At least 5 touchdowns per year, and 12 in 2021, which was his biggest one. For his 1 year with the Steelers, which was last year, 59 and 99. 850 yards and 6 touchdowns. He was suspended 2 games, so that's only in 15 games instead of 17. So not too bad of numbers. He might have hit that 1,000-yard threshold if he stayed healthy, or if he stayed on the field those last 2 games as well. But what's your thoughts on DK Metcalf, his outlook for this season and the future?
I think he's a fantastic talent. I mean, you mentioned he's 28 years old. He's absolutely in the peak of his prime. So we're going to see the best of DK Metcalf these next few years, and we've already seen, like you mentioned, some of those numbers where he's had over 900 yards every single year. He could surpass that this year. We'll see what's going on. He's definitely a focal point in the passing offense for the Steelers. He's consistently commanding high target share, and because of his size, he's a perimeter red zone threat. So I mean, he does get his action. He is somewhat touchdown dependent in a sense, not necessarily on a weekly basis, but he's somewhat touchdown dependent. So that could have market perception in regards to that. Furthermore, his quarterback is Aaron Rodgers. Now, Aaron Rodgers is a great quarterback, but Aaron Rodgers is 60. So, I mean, we get the future aspects of DK Metcalf. I popped you, Mick, sorry. We get the future aspects of DK Metcalf that are kind of in question for any type of future trades or anything like that. But if I'm a contending team, I'm holding him. He provides weekly production, and explosive upside. And so if I'm competing, I want DK Metcalf. If I'm rebuilding, I'm looking to sell him during his prime for maybe a younger wide receiver. But I'm looking to sell him for reasons of which his return. I think I can get more from a DK Metcalf than, say, like a Mike Evans or anything like that. So I would be more prone to pursue DK as a contender.
No, I like that call. I do think that going into the season, if DK is your number 2, you're a little bit worried because of Aaron Rodgers and because of Michael Pittman being probably the target monster that he is. And DK really taking the top off is what it seems like is going to happen there. Be the big play guy as well. But I think he's going to end up as close to that wide receiver 2 mark. So he is the deep threat for the team. That hasn't really gone deep, so we are a little bit worried about that. People are saying that Rodgers lost a little bit in his arm, so we'll see if that's true or if the offensive line was just bad last year. Hopefully that offensive line is a little bit better because I think he was more worried about getting hit than anybody in the NFL last year. So hopefully that doesn't happen again. For DK in Seattle, when he had those numbers, he always had a number 2 with him. Most of the time it was Tyler Lockett. He did not have that last year. When he did with Adam Thielen, he played pretty well. And then he decided to get suspended. But now he has Michael Pittman Jr., who is a very good target monster, right? Not going to beat you deep or anything like that, but he is a good possession receiver for this team that opens up DK to be able to do the other things.
But that is a great call, Michael Pittman. I didn't think of it like that in regards to a DK cushion, if you will, a positive for DK, but it is. Michael Pittman is notorious for being a PPR freak, running on a slot, running some short routes and inside routes and doing what he needs to do. And teams are going to have to not only plan against that, but the Steelers under Mike McCarthy sound like they're going to be kind of like the rest of the league, pushing that 2 tight end set in every once in a while. So, nevertheless, when they have the 2 tight ends that they have Michael Pittman, and it's going to open things up a lot more for DK this year. So that's a great point for you.
Yeah, go ahead. And last year you could double team DK and not get hurt. I feel like this year, good luck doing that.
Yeah, well said.
Right. So, I mean, especially with the rookie who seems like he's going to be pretty good too, and Jordan Bernard. But fantasy value-wise, he is valued at wide receiver 46 in Dynasty. Tier 11, that is a wide receiver 4 in a 12-team league, which is surprising to me.
Yeah, it's a little low in my opinion. I think he deserves a little bit more flowers than that. I'm not taking him as a top, maybe not because of his quarterback. And I want to keep on stressing that. It seems like a cop-out, but because of his quarterback, I think his rankings are being infected here. And that's, at least for me personally, they're being affected. But that just goes to show more drum beats for DK Metcalf, because the only reasons of why he is being taken down a peg is not because of DK Metcalf. It's because of the format of the play of offense that is going to happen and his 42-year-old quarterback. So I don't want to say a lot of, but one of the main negatives for DK Metcalf in regards to losing some of this value that you just mentioned is his quarterback. And quite frankly, that could change next year. That could change mid-year. Who knows? So I agree with you on that one. I think those numbers are a little low.
Yeah, and that wide receiver 46, that's going to be between Wan'Dale Robinson and Quentin Johnston. And then overall, he's 126th overall, tier 17. I guess 28 years old, you're old in the NFL. Not in your prime. I thought you would be in your prime. But he is between Isaiah Likely and Kyle Monangai, RJ Harvey, Wan'Dale Robinson, Quentin Johnson, like I said before. Those are the players that are right in that wheelhouse as well. Sorry, I think DK Metcalf's talent is much better than anybody else I just talked about. Probably, I mean, I don't even think it's a question at that point. But that's where they have him valued at right now in Keep Trade Cut. Average 2026 draft pick value, if you still have a draft dynasty rookie draft there. 201 to 205 is what they're saying on Keep Trade Cut. I think a late first I'd be okay with, because I'm not really excited with those players. Future pick value, mid to late 2027 second. If I was to get DK, that means, like you said, I'd be competing. I probably really wouldn't want to target him a whole lot, but late second, I'd probably be able to. I would probably trade. If he's the final piece, though, if I need one flex piece left, I would probably pay any second in the 2027 draft. To sell any second, he'd be gone for me. What are your thoughts on those?
I agree with that second level a lot more than his player rankings. I think just because of the examples you gave, I think I'd take Wan'Dale Robinson over DK, but that's the only one, just because I think he's going to be a PPR freak. Regardless how you feel about Cam Ward, I think Wan'Dale Robinson is going to be wide receiver one, and I think he's going to fit in that Tennessee offense exceptionally. But I don't want to get too far off the beaten path here. I would take DK over some of those other wide receivers you mentioned, and I would pay a second in 2027 for him in a competing role. Because again, I'm looking at this year, Aaron Rodgers is still a good quarterback. The Steelers are still going to be decent this year with Aaron Rodgers as quarterback, and I think they'll find ways to maneuver DK Metcalf into play. So I would be okay with a second. I agree.
I love it. So when we come back, we're going to talk about the NFC West, final division in our deep dives here. So we'll finish that up when we come back. All right, welcome back. We are going to finish up our deep dive into each division with the NFC West. First off, we have the Arizona Cardinals. They re-signed Jacoby Brissett. Well, we worked the final year of his contract to make it at least starting-ish salary for $15.5 million. They add Tyler Algier from the Falcons, running back, quarterback Gardner Minshew, formerly from the Chiefs, and wide receiver Kendrick Bourne, formerly from the Niners, which is a sneaky ad that no one really is talking about. Departures, obviously Kyler Murray, the quarterback, is now a Viking. And running back Trey Benson, I saw that he was waived. This is news to me, but I did not realize that. I guess it happened just a few days ago or something.
Yesterday.
That makes sense then. I was out of the loop, so there you go. And then they drafted, reason Trey Benson's waived, running back Jeremiah Love out of Notre Dame, round 1. Number 3 overall, quarterback Carson Beck out of Miami, round 3, 65 overall, and wide receiver Reggie Virgil out of Texas Tech, round 5, 143 overall. I'm going to jump into the dark horse real quick because My dark horse is going to be the starting quarterback second half of the year. Carson Beck.
Ooh.
Well, this team's not going anywhere. They didn't really win with Jacoby Brissett. So, you got to see what you have in the guy. He's not a first-round pick, but he's a third-round quarterback. You at least need to see what he has, especially with all the other holes that they have on defense and offensive line and wide receiver even a little bit. So, and how good this class is in quarterback, you got to make sure if Carson can go or not. That's how I feel. And I think he's going to play pretty well. Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson, obviously Trey McBride, weapons. Jeremiah Love, when he gets on the field, weapons. I mean, there's weapons here, and I think Jacoby's going to be able to make those weapons work. But I don't think it really is going to matter because of his veteran status, I guess. Second half of the year, when they're by far the worst team in this division, they'll probably want to see what the quarterback's got, and I think he's going to be pretty good.
I love Carl Carson Beck. You bring up a very good point. This is already going. 2027 is already being rumored to be a hell of a quarterback class. So like you mentioned, you want to see what you have before that class approaches. So it'd be exciting to see Carson Beck go in and see what he can do. That Hall of Fame game, he played really well, and then he got hurt. So hoping that he gets at least one more action here during preseason so we can see him. Oh, one individual who I'm going to make my dark horse is somebody who I feel sorry for his career. It's going to be Tyler Algier. Tyler Algier was drafted by the Falcons, and then they drafted Bijan Robinson, and then he waited at his rookie contract, and he was like, you know what, thanks, but no thanks, Falcons, I'm going to go be a starter. And the Cardinals signed him, and I'm going to be a starter of the Arizona Cardinals. I only have James Conner to worry about. And then they draft blue chip Jeremiah Love. I feel so sorry for Tyler Algier, but listen to this. I mean, I understand that he drafted Love, but for starters, Love is battling a high ankle sprain. Those things tend to linger, especially the high ankle ones. So his week 1 availability is kind of up in the air. Week 2, maybe even as well. So you're going to have a lot of Algier to start with. Second, this overblown, crowded running back room is another thing that tends to work against Algier. But as you mentioned, and as we confirmed, Trey Benson just got cut. James Conner, as great as he is fragile. He's coming off an ankle injury, and he played just 3 games last season. I mean, he's old and everything's catching up to him. So you have James Conner, who is ahead of him, and you have Jeremiah Love, who is, quote, ahead of him, but both of those guys are banged up. The Cardinals didn't sign Algier to a minimum deal. They signed him to a 2-year, $12.25 million contract with $8 million guaranteed. They're going to utilize this man. And I think when they utilize him, we're going to see the skill set that has been hidden by Bijan Robinson and that has potential to be hidden by Jeremiah Love. And he could potentially be the 1B on this team.
I love all of that. And that is so true. He's the most unlucky running back in history, I think, to be behind Bijan Robinson and then now the number 3 overall pick in Jeremiah Love, who we expect to be very, very good. I did draft him in Guillotine, though, because in Guillotine you play week to week, and Jeremiah Love is not playing week 1, in my opinion. Think about it this way, and this is how I kind of explain it maybe last week, is I'm the Cardinals. If I'm a smart organization, at least, in my opinion, I'm not really – obviously, this division is really, really good outside of them. 3 of the best teams in the NFL, really. And obviously, we're not going anywhere. Why would I rush back my number 3 overall pick running back, stud, from a high ankle sprain, week 1, week 2, week 3 even, and just let him slowly come in? You know what you have, I think. But we'll see what the Arizona Cardinals actually do. But I think your call on the dark horse is 100% right. On Tyler Algier. Carson Beck is kind of just hopium for me because I like to see him, and I think he's going to succeed if you have a chance to see him. Now, I don't know if you did the same thing as I did. I can't remember who your MVP is, but It's kind of the same thing as the Raiders, in my opinion.
We did the same thing, sir.
Yeah,
For the
there's
same
kind of
reasons.
just
It's
two
the
tight
same thing
ends in
as
the
the
NFL
Raiders.
that
Yeah.
matter more than anything else, anybody else, and people are trying to put other names in that realm, and that's cool. 5 years ago, it was Kittle and it was Kelsey, right? Now it is McBride and it is Bowers, and McBride has been the more successful one so far. We'll see what happens in the future. So obviously, I have McBride as the MVP. I think he is a can't use the same phrase, but really one of two. I guess I should have said one of two for Bowers as well, because it's like pulling hair or splitting hairs to see who actually is better. But go ahead if you want to have anything you wanted to add with McBride. I love the guy. I think he's unbelievable.
No, I think he's exactly the NFC version of Brock Bowers. He is a wide receiver one, dressed as a tight end. He was able to block. He was able to pass block and run block. So they utilized him as a tight end when he was a kid, and then it kind of just exploded from there. But he should have been a wide receiver. I mean, he's fast. He's strong. He can catch the ball in traffic. For reasons of everything you stated, is why I as well made him my MVP for the Cardinals. I don't want to say it's a no-brainer, but it's a no-brainer.
This one's even more of a no-brainer because we don't know what Jeremiah Love is, and we're still waiting for Marvin Harrison Jr. to realize he's in the NFL. Moving on, we have the Los Angeles Rams re-signed Tyler Higbee to a 2-year extension. No ads, no departures. They pretty much kept everything the same. Running back. Drafted Ty Simpson out of Alabama, quarterback in the first round, number 13 overall. Tight end Max Clare, Ohio State, round 2, 61 overall. And wide receiver C.J. Daniels, who we talked about earlier in the program, out of Miami, round 6, 197 overall. Obviously, we talk about fantasy only. I was going to add the biggest ad probably in the offseason in the NFL in Myles Garrett, but that just bolsters our defense, doesn't do really anything for us. Actually hurts us in fantasy, to be honest, because the offense doesn't have to be as good as they were last year. Not they're guaranteed to be, but I think they are going to be very good still. With you have Adams, you have Puka, you have Kyron Blake in the backfield, you have 18 tight ends that are going to play, and Matthew Stafford just picking apart everybody.
It's my boy Matthew Stafford, and it's worth mentioning Myles Garrett because again, it's impactful. What you said, the Rams don't need to be on the field as much, or they're not going to have to score as much, or whatever the situation is. But we're also going over the NFC West. We're also going over the Hawks, the Niners, and the Cardinals. All teams that have several dynasty and fantasy players that are applicable, that are now going to have to face Myles Garrett and potentially Aaron Donald on the other side. So it's worth mentioning, in my opinion. But you did mention Matthew Stafford. He is going to be my MVP. I'm going to jump a little bit out of order here just because of the segue. Matthew Stafford is the reigning NFL MVP. I am a Matthew Stafford groupie, but I did not see that coming last year. Matthew Stafford, if you remember, all during preseason, he was in that chamber trailer for his back and all kinds of things. He was a mess at the beginning of the season, and he came out and threw for God knows how many numbers, and he was the MVP reigning. Like I said, he's the reigning MVP of the NFL. I think he picks up right where he left off. I think he has the exact team around him, as we mentioned. Everyone is only going to get better. Devontae Adams, from what I'm reading in camp, is unguardable. Puka Nacua is Puka Nacua. And you also have young up-and-comers, like you mentioned, C.J. Daniels, and my dark horse, and Terrence Ferguson. Terrence Ferguson, the tight end, one of the tight ends of Los Angeles Rams, if you will, is considered, in my opinion, the best one in that class, or best one in that room. They're utilizing him on various amounts of route trees, and they're putting him all over the field. They've actually even utilized him as a fullback at some positions. So there's been times where he's being utilized all over the field, and there's times where he's being utilized in a route tree that is more extensive than a tight end would face. It's the same exact type of development that Trey McBride had. When you get in here and you get utilized to get spread all over the field, and you have a coach like Sean McVay, the opportunity is endless for Terrence Ferguson to have this explosive season that he has potential to have, and that's why I make him my dark horse.
Now, I like to call worries. Your dark horse does worry me a little bit because, like I said, there's so many tight ends in that room, and they're relevant. Tyler Higbee coming back for 2 more years, and he's been kind of the head honcho in that room for better part of a decade, I feel like. I can't even remember the Rams without him at this point. But my dark horse is going to be Blake Corum. And I think this isn't a surprise to anybody. A lot of people expect him to take time away from Kyron Williams. They've expected it for a year and a half now. I think it does happen, but I think it's on purpose. I think it's because they want Kyron healthy at the end of the year when it matters most. But I also think Blake Corum is a good second running back that is able to make the most out of this situation as well. So I do like Blake Corum a lot to be the dark horse on this team. MVP, I don't think there's any question, in my opinion, who the MVP in fantasy is on this team. Yeah, he might not play the first or second week. I haven't heard that for sure, but give him only 15 weeks and he's still going to have about as many points as your favorite wide receiver. Puka Nacua. He has been money since he came into the league. And he's just going to be money again, it seems like. So I don't really have anything else to say other than he's just that good. When you are talked about in the echelon of Jamar and Jay Jets and CeeDee Lamb, and you're one of the focals on that, I'm on our St. Brown as well. Like, you are the MVP on your team, period.
Well said. Yeah, well said. He's the MVP. I mean, he's the sole contributor of, not the sole contributor, but one of the main contributors to Matthew Stafford's MVP season last season. Dude is just an absolute freak. And I'm glad you mentioned the caliber that he's a part of, because that's exactly what needs to be said. He's a part of the CeeDee Lambs, the Jamar Chases, the Jettas, the Amon-Ra St. Browns, the JSNs. Like, he's in that group. And when you are in that group, there's really nothing further that can be said. It's obvious that the talent is there. It's obvious that the skill set's there. And when you have a quarterback like Matthew Stafford throwing on the ball, his potential is endless.
Absolutely. It definitely helps with Stafford throwing the ball, for sure. We're going to move on to the San Francisco 49ers. They re-signed Jake Tonjes to a 2-year deal, the backup tight end for George Kittle. They add wide receiver Mike Evans, formerly from the Buccaneers, wide receiver Christian Kirk, formerly from the Texans. Departures, they lose Kendrick Bourne, as I said earlier, to the Cardinals, wide receiver, and then Sky Moore went to the Packers as well. Not really a loss, but he did leave. And then they drafted wide receiver DeJon Stribling out of Ole Miss in round 2, 33 overall, first pick in the second round. And Kalen Black, running back out of Indiana, national champion Indiana, round 3, 90 overall. Again, I'm just going to go to it real quick, get this out of the way. MVP, I believe he is going to have a great season if he stays healthy. I'm worried about the health, but if he stays healthy, he's the best running back in football, more than likely. Christian McCaffrey.
Great call. I mean, when you have a player that's been the MVP of the team for the past 2 years, it's a no-brainer to select him as your MVP for the team. I mean,
I went easy.
Yeah, no, and it's fair. I mean, we went quote easy for Trey McBride and Brock Bowers, but when these teams have these dominant players that they do, it's a no-brainer who the MVP is going to be. And I fully agree with you on CMC. I did take a different route. I did go to the other side of the football in regards to the offense, and the quarterback on Brock Purdy is going to be my MVP. I think he has elite efficiency, and he has only now a stronger supporting cast. You mentioned it. They added Mike Evans. They added Christian Kirk. They added Deshaun Stribling, who's tearing it up at camp. And then you have Christian McCaffrey, who catches 500 balls out of the backfield a year. So you have an offensive system with Kyle Shanahan that gives Brock Purdy an opportunity to exceed and excel, and I think he's going to do it once again this year.
I love it. And then my dark horse is going to be his rookie that he's going to throw to in Deshaun Stribling. really because I don't really know if there's a dark horse on this team. Their name recognition, for lack of a better way to say it. So I went with Dejon Stribling. Right now, he seems like he's the only healthy wide receiver on the team, which is a good thing, meaning that he'll be able to be a focal point for Brock Purdy in preseason, so that he is able to also be a focal point in the regular season.
I like the call. I went on the opposite. I went to his elder in being the dark horse, and Mike Evans. Now, some would say Mike Evans necessarily isn't a dark horse, but hear me out. He's a massive age and injury market that is coming into play. He's coming off a broken collarbone. He's done half of practice because of ankle injuries and hamstrings. I mean, he's 33 years old, but he is a wide receiver one. He's proven to be a wide receiver one. He has 1,000 rushing yards. He's 1,000 receiving yards almost every single year that he has played, with the exception of last year due to the collarbone. He's 6'5". He's an absolute red zone monster, to the point where I think he's going to be utilized probably excessively within the red zone. Sorry, George Kittle, but no, I think most dynasty formats, if not all, I think you can acquire Evans for a late round rookie draft cap. And if I'm competing, I want Mike Evans. If he busts through the age, you almost lose nothing if you give him up a late draft capital. But if he hits, you got a top 12 weekly starter in regards to wide receiver who could be potentially in a championship push. So I'm going with Mike Evans.
No, I like that. If he stays healthy, he's by far the number one on this team. He's one of the best wide receivers of his generation. And when he's healthy, he's absolutely an alpha on the field. So I love that call as well. So this team's going to be good. I mean, it's all there is to it. They're always good. So will be fun to see. However, no one was better last year than the Seattle Seahawks, and that's who we're going to talk about to wrap everything up. They re-signed wide receiver Rashid Shaheed. They add running back Emmanuel Wilson, formerly from the Packers, to help out that running back room. And then obviously because of Kenneth Walker, who we talked about earlier, going to the Chiefs, they also draft Jadarian Price from Notre Dame, round 132nd overall, last pick in the draft. Again, national champions, Super Bowl champions. You get the last pick. And wide receiver Emmanuel Henderson Jr. out of Kansas, round 6, 199 overall.
For one thing, I'm going to go with my MVP out of the gate. And I'm going to go with the men you just mentioned, and Jadarian Price. I am not the biggest fan of making rookies MVPs or standouts, but I think Jadarian Price is an exception. He has first-round draft cap, so obviously he has weight to pull in the locker room. He's filling a big void. Zach Charbonnet is out with injury, and we don't know when Zach Charbonnet is coming back, and they lost Kenneth Walker to the Kansas City Chiefs that we talked about earlier. So there's a big hole in that room for him to do it. He's already hitting it off well with Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold said he could, quote, do it all. So that's exciting. You're going to see some balls catched out of the backfield. You're going to see some running out of the backfield. You're going to see some screenplays. We're going to see a bunch of different things, and that's only going to help him. And to be honest with you, I think unless you watch Notre Dame football, you don't understand the caliber and the potential of Jadarian Price. Fortunately, one of my friends who's in the fantasy team is a Notre Dame diehard, and I have done nothing but get fed Price and love statistics and stats and videos. So I've been able to see this. But Jadarian Price is, in my opinion, the second best running back in this entire class. I think he was drafted properly in the first round, and I'm going to call him for my MVP.
I like it. My dark horse, however, is going to be the reason I'm worried about your MVP, Zach Charbonnet. I think he is one of the better backs that is not talked about in the NFL. Obviously, he had Kenneth Walker with him, and that definitely hurt his status. However, Zach Charbonnet had a really good year last year. He steals the carries in the goal line, and he can catch out of the backfield as well. I think they're going to play really well together because I do think that being a tandem isn't something Price is unfamiliar with, obviously, and something that Zach Charbonnet is very good at as well. So I think it is going to be a 1-2 punch. However, I do think Zach Charbonnet is going to be the pass-catching back and the goal line back, kind of what he was for Kenneth Walker. And Kenneth Walker, or Jared Price, is going to be very similar to the Kenneth Walker role. But I don't disagree that Jadarian Price is going to have a good year. It just worries me a little bit of how good, because of how when Zach Charbonnet comes back, I think he takes, again, at least 50-50. My MVP, I went easy again. I took the easy red. He was the best wide receiver in football last year. I don't think he's going to repeat that. However, he is in that conversation of top 5, top 6 wide receivers in football. Jackson Smith-Njigba. JSN, obviously. They only have one wide receiver last year. I think they're going to have 2, at least, that matter. Cooper Kupp is there, and Rashid Shaheed, we said, was re-signed. Hopefully he's not just a return guy, because in the Saints, he showed that he could do some things receiving-wise. So, but there's no shock that Darnold is going to throw to JSN a whole lot. So because of that, he's going to be my MVP for this year for the Seattle Seahawks. I went first for the AFC West. You go ahead for the NFC West in our positional team and MVP and dark horse for the division.
Sure. I went with my MVP overall. No surprise. I'll be a fanboy until the day he retires. Matthew Stafford. I think he's picks up right where he left off last year, and he's the MVP for the NFC West. As my overall dark horse, I'm going to go with the one you praised the most out of respect. I'm going to go with Tyler Algier. I think he's going to have a great beginning of the year with Love being a little banged up, and I don't see them utilizing Love as a 3-down back right out of the gate. I think Algier's going to get himself plenty of opportunities, which makes him my dark horse. My quarterback is Sam Darnold, MVP or Super Bowl champion. I mean, what else is there to be said? I'm going with Sam Darnold. My running back is going to be Jadarian Price for comments I've raised earlier. My wide receiver is going to be Puka Nacua. My tight end, Trey McBride. My flex position is going to be CMC. And then, as mentioned earlier, Stafford is my dark horse. Stafford's my MVP, and Algier as my dark horse.
I love it. Matthew Stafford's going to be my quarterback because he is the best quarterback, in my opinion, in this division. Running back, Christian McCaffrey. Wide receiver, JSN, Jackson Smith-Njigba. My flex is going to be Puka Nacua. My tight end is going to be George Kittle because he's the second best tight end in this division. However, the MVP is going to be Trey McBride because there's only 2 of them that matter, and he is the one of 2. As I said before, him and Brock Bowers are the only 2 that 100% can be a cheat code for your team. So I love him to be the MVP. And then the dark horse is going to be Zach Charbonnet because I think he's probably the best guy in this division. No one's talking about. And if he comes back on the field earlier than people are expecting, which would be earlier than halfway through the season, he's just going to have a great year with Jadarian Price being a stand-up. So anything you wanted to say about the NFC or AFC West before we get out of here?
I think together, AFC and NFC, I think the West is one of the best divisions in the league. You have so much depth. You have 3 out of 4 teams competing for a Super Bowl out of each division. I think the AFC and NFC West are very underrated, and they deserve some credit because they are deep.
Yeah, and even the 2 bottom feeders that we believe in the Cardinals and the Raiders, they got some ballers that matter on your fantasy team. So, and the 2 best tight ends in the league are in these 2 divisions as well. As we just said. So, yeah, I 100% agree with that. I think these are the 2 best divisions outside of the NFC North. I think those are by far the 3 best divisions in football. And it's going to be fun to see who comes out of each one. Next week, we are off for a little break before the season starts, is how we'll say that. And then the following week, we come back, and the season's here. We're getting set up for the season. We actually are recording the day before the season starts. So we're going to do the top stories going into the year. especially fantasy relevant wise. Our fave 5 for week 1. So this used to be the flex options. However, flex is a interesting term in dynasties, so we're gonna go with fave 5 for now on, and then we're also gonna throw out some predictions, which we've already thrown out. So there have been a few spoilers already, but I'm sure we'll have a few other ones as well. Before we go, anything you wanted to say to our listeners?
I think we nailed it here. I hope our listeners enjoyed listening to our divisional breakdown as much as we enjoyed breaking it down. I think this is a fun 4 weeks for the pod. So yeah, any feedback is appreciated, of course. But yeah, I hope you all listened and enjoyed.
Yeah, these are some of the most fun weeks for me because we really get to see what matters in fantasy and what we think is going to actually matter, and move our teams accordingly. Hopefully you do the same. So thanks for listening. Check us out on YouTube, Apple, and Podbean. Our socials at dynastymttops on X and Blue Sky. And email us dynastymttops@gmail.com for any feedback or comments, topics you want to hear. We're going to be going through the season here, so definitely want to get any feedback from you guys for that as well. But comment on below as well on YouTube and Apple specifically. So other than that, for Jeremy, Mickey, this has been Dynasty with Mountaintops, and we'll see you in 2 weeks, and we'll see you when football is starting.
Let's expletive go.